Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for being tardy. I wanted to catch up on the last few minutes of these live feeds that I missed out on. Understand in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot of stuff to break down, coach. I mean, we got the casuals now catching up to speed, now realizing Tiffany ain't shit. We got her now trying to figure out a way to soften the blow to backdoor Claire in the nicest way imaginable when I feel like this is just half stepping at its best here. I mean, at the end of the day, coach, it's bad enough you decided to be selfish, which put us down the path of you having to course correct. But now you're trying to make it seem as if you finally doing the right thing deserves some credit, some recognition, when you could have just done the right thing from the start and we aren't in this mess. But Tiffany stands would like you all to believe she deserves a cookie for this. As if being on code isn't expected. As if it's unexpected. Therefore, when someone is on code, we should applaud them. Ladies and gentlemen, this Cookout Alliance has been here this entire season. So I don't believe in giving out moral victories or consolation prizes when at the end of the day, Xavier has been codified and been sacrificed since the start, while Tiffany has been hedging, playing both sides, and now when she finally is trapped and has no other choice but to do what Xavier's been doing all game, now she sees, oh, Xavier had a choice. He just knew better than to be off code. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trio, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pronoun Punisher, the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Big Brother US, Season 23, all of the above, on that ISAT test, at ACT, you know what it is! And we're here, ladies and gentlemen, for the 33rd rant of Big Brother 23, entitled Fortune Favors the Code. Because let's keep it real, when you're codified, good things tend to go your way in this season. Now, in past seasons, if you're codified, it's a bad thing because you're surrounded by people who are anti-black by nature because of casting, right? This season, being on code is only good for your game. This is why I held Tiffany accountable for being off code when she didn't have to so often. See, Tiffany thought she was so smart. She thought, I can afford to not care about cookout management because no matter what, someone black wins. So I'm going to prioritize jury management over cookout management. But when you get to a week such as this, where now people can see who you really are, your mask has fallen completely off, and now all of a sudden you're trying to pivot to being all about cookout management because you really have no other choice. If she betrays X this week, throws up Big D, she goes next week before Alyssa anyway. At the end of the day, she had no choice. This is why I'm not giving her credit for it, right? If she wants to go around here and say X didn't have no choice all game to be on code, well, you didn't have no choice to be on code now. We're going to play that game. See, when we hold her accountable with her own words, people get butthurt. But the truth is, what X did, he always had a choice, but he always chose black first. Why is it every time Tiffany had the chance, she always hesitated? Because Tiffany's choice outside the house ain't black first. It's about the action, not the words that come from your mouth. And see, in this rant, I'm going to break down why I do not feel sorry for no damn Claren. Claire Bear, I could give a fuck. I'm going to break down why I don't feel sorry for Tiffany. You know, she put herself in this position. She shot herself. She literally Plaxico Burrist herself this week. And we got people like, oh my God, feel bad for her. No one should have to do this. Well, that's why Xavier threw the HOH so he wouldn't have to do this with Alyssa. You know, these people want to act as if Xavier's not good at the game, but Xavier is smart enough to not make the mistakes the person they're wishing to win does. So if Xavier is this bad, how is Tiffany higher than him if he's not even making mistakes she's making below him? By shitting on Xavier, Tiffany fans don't realize they're actually shitting on Tiffany too, because she's beneath him already. So if Xavier's overrated, that just means Tiffany is more overrated, you dumbass, because y'all spend more time bigging her up than anyone bigs up Xavier. Xavier might have 10% fan support on social media. That might be modest on my end, 10%. But his gameplay is without a doubt better than Tiffany's. Tiffany has somewhere around 90% support, and she's made way more mistakes. And brings me to another topic. We have Andy Herron. You know, the guy who won the game because he benefited from a racist season? You know, the guy who benefited from such a toxic season that no one wants to talk about or remember so much that they never brought this pussy ass dude back? Yeah, that guy, Andy Herron. This dude jumped out of the window talking shit about Xavier, too. So you got Taryn the beta male over here. Okay, you got him over there on RHAP. We're going to get into Ahmad Adwin's punk ass in a second. Don't worry. Okay, you got Andy Herron's punk ass over here. Doesn't he sound just like Taryn? What is up with all these white men that have insecurity issues bashing the best black male player? It's because they know Xavier has the biggest case to the crown. He has the best case to being one of the greatest to ever play this game. And Xavier's not problematic. Xavier's not a stereotypical black man. Xavier actually is a role model for other black boys to aspire to be. He's a lawyer, right? He's not a basketball player like he wanted to be. He's not a gangbanger. He's not a rapper. See, Xavier, he breaks the mold on what they want black boys to become. Tiffany doesn't break the mold at all. She shows little black girls being ratchet hood rats until they 42 is okay. That's why these white folks like her and hate him. You gotta think. Oh yeah, we gonna talk that hot shit tonight. So when I see someone like Andy Herron, buck broken beyond belief, won a season because he benefited from being the rat who ratted out racists, but loved him when the black folks was around, loved him when Helen was around. So let's not get it twisted here. This guy followed McCray and Amanda around all game. He allowed Amanda to get away with some of the most racist, off-the-wall bullshit coming out of her mouth. This dude allowed Gina Marie, actually he's still friends, Davon's still friends with Gina Marie. All these people grifting. But let's get into the tweet. Andy Herron tweeted earlier today at 3:11 p.m. Xavier has done basically nothing to help the cookout. All right, we already know that first sentence is false, but let's continue. Think about it. Well, if you have to think about it, it probably isn't true. Run the numbers. Run the numbers and think about it is a very redundant two sentences to put together. Get to your point, dumbass. Do the math. More redundancy because you don't have a point. Tiffany has done the majority of the work to keep the alliance together. More lies. Xavier has been the glue. Tiffany has been the one trying to keep the non-black players that wanted to split this six up around longer. So this is another false statement. Then he says Xavier discredits her at every chance he gets, and it's annoying. Xavier only started discrediting her after she made the selfish decision to win this HOH. Up until this week, Xavier spoke nothing but highly of her. That's facts. And that's why Andy didn't have the courage to jump out the window on Xavier until this week, because he's rooting for Tiffany too. So what does it say about all these people who belong to the Moist Mafia? That they will root for a black woman who is cooning it up before a black man who is actually a lawyer, who is actually playing a respectable game? Let's keep it real here. If Tiffany and Xavier were both white and playing the exact same way, this fan base would admit Xavier's the superior player because they wouldn't want to see a white woman playing that way. It would be embarrassing to white folks seeing one of their representatives doing this shit. Think about it. If they were to see a white person with so much self-hate that all they do is bash white folks to get closer to black folks, people like Andy would not like that player. People like Andy would hate them. But because Tiffany did it in reverse, because she was anti-black to get closer to non-black people, Andy can get down with that because his season was racist. He might see some Gina Marie and Tiffany. Well, y'all not hearing me. So let's go ahead and Thanos snap this dumbass to the Shadow Realm real quick. I ethered him super quick. At the end of the day, I'm not even going to get into the thread on Twitter of this guy talking complete nonsense. The guy makes no sense. And see, Tiffany fans right now are so mad, they need any type of fast food they can get on social media that's anti-X. Because in their minds, they blame X somehow for why Claire's going home. As if it's X's fault that Tiffany didn't fulfill her end of the bargain and throw the same comp X through. Didn't I tell y'all, whenever Tiffany makes a mistake, it's the black man's fault? You're seeing it now in live real time. See, the great thing about me, y'all, I can predict things that happen weeks and months before they do. And this was before I had all this technology at my disposal. I was doing this stuff. Remember, y'all? Remember when Google Hangouts was tweaking and I had to do live streams from my cell phone? That's how much I care about this shit, y'all. I remember doing challenge videos from my phone, the whole nine. That's how much passion I truly got. So when I see these alumni downplaying this man's, and see, here's the thing. No disrespect. I'm not saying because you white or because you moist, you can't chime in on black issues. But I personally believe if you're not black, you can't really tell us who has been keeping black folks together the best. Because only black folks know what it takes to keep black egos together. Because only we have been around tons of black egos all our life. Okay? I would not tell a white person how hard it is for them to keep white egos together. That's not my stilo. All right? That's not my stilo. So all I ask is that people like Andy Herron, people like Taryn Armstrong, shut the fuck up. Respectfully. Because at the end of the day, y'all can't tell none of us about these black people. Y'all can't. That's why y'all were rooting for DX to make the N. That's why y'all was rooting for Claire to make the N. Alyssa, in 1 week, managed to do what Claire couldn't do with damn near 8 different chances to do, win something on her own. And they not even happy for Alyssa. They're so mad about what's happening to Claire, they're not even rooting for the one underdog left, Alyssa, because she's connected to Xavier. See that? So it's not about it. It's not about the underdog. It's not about supporting women who need help. It's not about none of these agendas and propaganda that they throw at the wall hoping something sticks. It's all about Tiffany to them. And if anyone has the nerve to hold Tiffany accountable, they are automatically thrown into you're an X-stan box. But some of these people holding her accountable are Ozza stans. But now you see Ozza's getting shitted on because now she is now sounding like me now. You notice Ozza on these feeds early today, she says her ideal final 3 is who? Big D and X. Didn't I tell y'all that weeks ago? When Tiffany Stans was trying to convince the world with they casual asses that they somehow knew Ozza's win conditions, knowing damn well Tiffany and Hannah did not have Ozza in their final 3 plans. Oh, man. See, I promise y'all, I'm not a fluke. And because I'm always right and I keep pushing the envelope, no pun intended because Claire is leaving, but still, because I'm the one that's not scared to push the envelope and make constant predictions and I don't rest on my laurels, this is what makes me unguardable in this community. I'm unguardable. I'm the microwave. I'm Vinnie Johnson. At any moment, I can drop 30 on your head top because I see some things not you as in the viewer, but the other creators can't possibly see. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this rant. We got some stuff to discuss. We're going to break down tonight's episode. We're going to get into live feeds jargon. It's a lot of stuff to discuss, and I'm going to be answering y'all questions. I appreciate y'all waiting. I wanted to wait for the West Coast audience to watch this episode so y'all feel like I will feel. I'm going to throw a lot of stuff at y'all tonight. Please believe that freebie I threw at y'all yesterday, that mid-season WTF, I held some stuff back because I wanted y'all to be entertained tonight too. So this is going to be another deep dive. Now let's get it cracking, ladies and gentlemen. Wednesday's episode, let's break it down. We see Tiffany say, because she's HOH, there is no way Claire touches the block. This will age nicely tonight. Zingbot chose to call Alyssa dumb. He said Xavier is obsessed with himself. He made an old person joke on Tiffany, taking it easy on her. Tiffany even flipped off Zingbot. He called Claire Bigfoot, implying she can dunk a basketball. I ain't the only one who see you like that. That man called you Sasquatch. And he zinged Ozza for never being able to go on a date with X. Well, I tell you this, Ozza. You find a way into Final 3 with Xavier and Big D, even if you cut X and go to Final 2 with Big D and win the game, you getting that date. On everything I love, Xavier gonna at least give you that date, because you riding for him. And I told people this would happen, but they didn't want it to happen, okay? But at the end of the day, I know black women. I just know them too well. Yeah, I might hold Tiffany accountable, but no one can say I haven't been spot on with Tiffany, Hannah, and Ozza. Right? I told y'all Hannah's win conditions, Ozza's win conditions, Tiffany's win conditions before all these other Tiffany stands could, before all these Ozza stands could, before all these Hannah stands could. So how can I possibly hate black women? See, the truth of the matter is they can't understand how I'm this good. And see, the narrative they create about me wouldn't even be possible because if I truly hated them, I wouldn't be this spot on with my read on them. See, me wanting the best of them, wanting them to set a great example for future black women that play this game is why I'm always so on point. Why I don't take days off. Shout outs to Bill Belichick. Shout outs to Wale. Shout outs to the DMV. You feel a dig me? This is why I go so hard. Because I see if I ain't keeping it a bean, there are tons of black fans that are in the dark because these white creators don't want us knowing what's up. Because they don't want our representatives winning anyway. It really is that simple, you know? But yes, Zingbot called Hannah irrelevant, and I believe he zinged Kylan about talking too much. In my opinion, this was all softball stuff. I mean, you can tell Zingbot was scared to say anything too crazy. Um, but in my opinion, I got a hot take for y'all. I think Zingbot was once again on orders from production to try to cause some static between Ozza and Xavier by implying Xavier would never date her outside the house. I believe this was production's last second Hail Mary to try to get Ozza to turn on Xavier and keep Claire. Think about it. Think about it. Now, granted, people would argue, well, Dave, hold up. This Zingbot thing happened before Alyssa won the veto. So how would production know? In theory, you're reaching a bit here. I'll tell you why. Because out of all the people to try to expose in that light, why Ozza and X? And see, here's the thing. Tiffany needs to thank her lucky stars. She decided to be a thought with Kylan after Zingbot. Because if Zingbot wouldn't have held her accountable for this, I would have raised some hell. So it almost feels as if Tiffany waited for Zingbot to come before being a thought. That way that wouldn't be incorporated in frying her more. You got to think about this stuff. You got to really think about this stuff. Now let's get into this goofball. Amon the Bati Boy Odwin, or whatever the hell his last name is. I don't know the man. I just know he a Bati boy. He one of them Bati boys who swear his opinion holds weight because he's Bati. We know what it is. Now this idiot, now I don't watch the content, right? Because I don't want no one's opinion skewing mine in any direction. Whether that be going more against what they're saying because they're saying it or saying something similar to them, I don't even want to risk it. So I don't watch their content. But based off doing a bit of digging, ladies and gentlemen, what I've come to find out is this dude is in the crosshairs of all the Huntress Hive members because he had the nerve to imply Hannah's overrated. Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself this for a second. Why does it seem like all these media members, all these media pundits, are trying to drag down all the players with a better case to win than Tiffany all of a sudden? Or you notice this effort? Hannah now is getting dragged down as being overrated. Xavier's being dragged down as overrated. During the 1 week that conveniently Tiffany ruined her game, now all of a sudden Hannah's getting smoke? See, it's one thing for them to shit on X. I see that coming. But when you start to shit on Hannah this week, oh, it tells me they're this irrational. They want Tiffany to win so bad that they're becoming all in on Kylan and Tiffany more than Hannah. Hannah now is legitimately starting to be thrown to the wind because these fans are starting to see Hannah could beat Tiffany too. We don't want her making the end with her then. Let's pivot and act like the dude we tried to cancel 7 days ago is good enough to make the end again. That's what's going on, y'all. They're trying to throw Hannah and Xavier under the bus and downplay their contributions to this 6-person alliance because they are the most logical members of this alliance. Because they have the best case to win right now and they know it, and that's why they're shitting on them. If they didn't have no case, they wouldn't even mention them. They would treat them like Big D and Ozza. You notice Big D and Ozza, they never talk about how overrated they are because they know they don't have a chance over Tiffany if they're in Final 2 with her. It's all about bashing the people who can beat Tiffany in Final 2. Kylan can't beat her in Final 2, or at least it's up in the air and they don't really see it. That leaves Hannah and Xavier to get all of the smoke from all of these cowards who claim to be feminists but will shit on Hannah and Ozza. Huh? Who claim to be pro-black, but will shit on Xavier just for being a black man who keeps black people together. I need y'all to understand these patterns here because they think they're smart with this shit. But really, the timing wasn't this what I held Derek Levasseur accountable for? The timing of it shows us all you're still an emotional Tiffany stan because of when you decided to hold Hannah accountable. You didn't hold her accountable during the week DX left. You hold her accountable the week Tiffany fucks up. You don't hold her accountable last week when SB was leaving. No. Even though Hannah won the veto, which got SB out. No. Y'all downplayed Hannah winning the veto entirely, gave all the credit to Tiffany, knowing damn well Tiffany did not win that. She didn't even compete in that veto. Claire competed in her stead. So at the end of the day, we have people giving Tiffany credit for the stuff Hannah does. And now they're downplaying Hannah's contribution entirely, acting like she's overrated. Is this woman Tiffany winning the game this important to these? What does Tiffany winning change in their life? That's my question. The way they are going so hard, listen, you would think they're on payroll, like there's a deal under the table. If Tiffany win, we get a split of that $750K. That's how they playing this. See, people can say whatever they want about me, but I don't go out of my way bashing every person that has a chance to beat X. I give Hannah credit even though she probably has the best case to beat X. So at the end of the day, this is the difference between me and these people, right? I don't move the goalpost. And you see, this guy went through one day of having the type of heat and smoke on him that I have dealt with for 6 years. He already on Twitter acting like the victim. You don't need to send me hateful DMs and mentions just because I didn't rate someone as highly as you wanted. You never know what people are going through. These same TIFF stands will go crazy on me just for a community post, but now all of a sudden mental health matters. Oh, isn't that convenient? Get the fuck out of here. See, this is what I be talking about, man. This selective virtue signaling victim shit. If you're going to be in the kitchen slinging that hot shit, then you need to be the one ready when the hot shit gets slung back. The problem is, these people, they're cowards, dog. See, the same stuff I say to y'all in rants, I would say in a lecture in person. Because this is my personality. This is how I feel about the game itself. These people are caricatures of themselves. These RHAP, moist, buck-broken dudes are literally paid to be anti-black. Literally. And Rob is smart enough to allow these little pawns to do all this fucked up shit on his behalf. So worst comes to worst, he could just Brent Walgamot or Alex Kidwell, then make them the fall guy, get someone else in. The machine keeps moving. It's a lot like the Snowpiercer movie, if you know, you know. So understand, Rob Cesternino, I have no hate towards the guy. I actually respect the guy. But at the end of the day, what people need to understand is this Amon Adwood guy, he was on the So You Think You Can podcast thing. This was like this, So You Think You Can Dance, right? It was when Rob Cesternino had his own kind of tryout or audition to become a member of his panel. Amon was one of them thirsty Negroes willing to do whatever it takes to win. I remember that guy Puya made it to like the finals, or maybe he made it to the semis or something. But I remember the Melissa Denny girl was the one who won it just because RHAP didn't have no women on their panel yet. So they literally, as early as years ago, were showing y'all that they were virtue signaling, they were identity politicking, and they were pushing feminism. Because even Amon couldn't buck break himself to be woman enough to be picked before Melissa. So I'm just providing that backstory to show you all, even Amon getting his Negro wake-up call, he just too buck broken to acknowledge it. Woo! Oh, we bodying people tonight. Now, Claire says she may be going out, well, she may be going on the block as a lamb, but she will be leaving the house as a lion. Yeah, okay, boomer. Claire didn't even fight for her life in the game because she didn't want to be called racist. It's actually sad that she took this laying down. Now, let's get into Saturday's feeds. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to break down Saturday's feeds. I'm going to break down Sunday's feeds. I'm going to break down Monday's feeds. I'm going to skip Tuesday. I'm going to break down a little bit of the day. This is going to be a true deep dive, and I'm going to give y'all my unique take on this game. So get yourself a cold beverage. It's finna go down, all right? I just want to give y'all some of that hot shit early to keep y'all awake. Oh, and please believe we still got that Bombay lemonade. I'm just keeping myself well hydrated throughout the process. You feel it, dig me? All right, man, we finna get it cracking. When feeds return around 4, Alyssa is revealed as the winner of the veto, surrounded by the rest of the house at the dinner table besides Big D. Tiffany has promised the whole cookout she would throw up Claire. Let the Tiffany exposed party begin. Everyone looks happy except X, Claire, and Tiffany at the table. X seems to be acting because he didn't mind Alyssa winning veto prior to the comp, making fans inquire on whether or not he threw veto to Alyssa in front of Zingbot. Now we know for a fact there's no way X could have thrown that comp because that comp was not meant for a man to even win. It is what it is. There's no way a grown ass man with grown ass fingers can win. That's why Claire, who can dunk a basketball and palm one, couldn't. Oh, we in the zone tonight. Auto zone. Oh, we going in. We going in, coach. Alyssa has now won the Zingbot comp and OTEV. That's doper than back-to-back HOHs if you ask me. Big D would talk to Ozza about being bummed because the original plan was a lot better, but he is skeptical about Tiffany throwing up Claire. Xavier calms Big D down in front of Ozza and gets him to see Tiffany has no choice but to throw up Claire, or else she loses 4 votes in jury, and she doesn't make final 6. He wasn't lying. Big D is just mad Alyssa knows she is next now, because she had to win veto this week, making the double a lot more difficult for the 6. This shows me Big D is a logical player, even when he could be emotional. This turns into a funny segment where Xavier thinks Ozza is as defeated as Big D, but she isn't. So when X figures it out, he calls her bed the calm bed and sits next to her, only for Ozza to say she can't cuddle no more because she's delusional, thinking X will go on a date with her. Now, this will be the undertone of this week because of Zingbot, of course. So, so this is going to play a role in a lot of things. But once again, X's mouthpiece is damn near second to none because even Zingbot can't cock block. But let's continue. Big D would then damage control by saying it's just like him and Kylan. Funny moment around 2:30 here. Alyssa would come in and disturb them to talk to X. Alyssa talks to X. Xavier tells her she just won two of the best comps of the season. Alyssa says her arm workouts paid off in the comp because Hannah got tired. Xavier says it was the type of comp a man couldn't do. He then sang Big D's song, I'm on the block again, cause I'm from the block. Now, we actually saw them show like a cut, a super cut of all these different songs tonight. I thought that was dope. So it's funny how I put this in my notes, not knowing that this would come to play, but it is what it is. Alyssa is worried about Tiffany throwing up Big D or Ozza to send X home because she can't fathom Claire going up either. Alyssa wants Big D and Ozza to push for Kylan and go up next to Xavier to be taken out. Xavier is trying to subtly tell Alyssa it makes no sense for Tiffany to throw up Kai if not initially. X knows he goes home next to Kai, so he is deflecting Alyssa to a different replacement nom than Kylan because of the 6. It's a very sensitive situation. Alyssa asks Xavier if he's okay after he drops the apple in his hand. Xavier says he's good, knowing Claire will go up because Tiffany has no real choice. But since X can't tell Alyssa that this early, he played this conversation flawlessly. Hannah goes to Tiffany in the HOH room. Tiffany says there is still salt in the wound among the 6 after she made the selfish move of winning HOH. Tiffany believes the other 4 members are secretly happy this blew up in her face, but of course they should feel this way. 2 weeks in a row, Tiffany put this alliance in unnecessary harm for the same woman Tiffany is now backdooring. I mean, at the end of the day, I'd laugh too. Hannah says Tiffany can't tell Claire about the 6 in case of a battle back. Hannah gives Tiffany the advice of saying to Claire that she made a deal not to throw up 2 black people at once. Claire is the only option because Alyssa won the veto. I think this excuse is terrible gameplay, but if Tiffany implements it, Hannah is an incredible player. Pay attention. In my opinion, Hannah was setting up Tiffany to look like Boo Boo the Fool. Hey, why don't you tell Claire that you made a deal with every black person, but it isn't an alliance though. Hannah was trying to make Tiffany look crazy, and actually Tiffany ended up doing this. X tried to talk her out of this because it sounds stupid. X was actually trying to help Tiffany's game more than Hannah this week. That's the funny part. X is actually after you, but he's still willing to help you a little bit more because he knows it don't behoove him for Alyssa and Claire to find out about the 6 before they both go. So even he is willing to help you repair some of your game if it helps you make sure his game doesn't get blown up. But even then, Tiffany's too stubborn to take Xavier's advice. So this once again shows she's ungrateful, man. But let's continue. Hannah is giving Tiffany horrible advice here. She is ruthless. The huntress has arrived. Tiffany says she can't put Big D up because Xavier would leave due to Kylan being the swing vote. Both women are realizing there is no other choice but to betray Claire. Betraying the six at this stage will be public image suicide. They know X has been too loyal to be done so dirty. Tiffany realizes her reason to not throw up four people is going to be hard to make sense out of. Tiffany even sounds logical by stating it won't make sense for her HOH week narrative to be based around targeting pairs only to target a member of her pair. Damn. This is why you should have crafted your narrative better, expecting the unexpected. But once again, you thought Alyssa didn't have a chance in winning the veto. Pretty funny to me how you push Alyssa as this comp beast, but then you don't believe she has the ability to win a comp. Doesn't this show that she was full of shit in all of her words about Alyssa all along? In moments like these, I honestly feel bad for the human being, but not the player. Tiffany is forced to make a human decision that isn't her best move for her game as a player. Hannah asks Tiffany what does she think she can say that gets Claire's jury vote because she can't refer to any alliance Claire isn't privy to. Tiffany agrees to say she made a deal not to nominate these black men, well, these black folks, but is trying to figure out a way of saying it without actually saying it. Hannah says to just say individual names to hide the collective. Tiffany says because Claire knows that Big D, X, and Kylan are mad at Tiffany, Claire will perceive this decision as done out of fear, not loyalty to a group. I think Claire is smart enough to see that there is an alliance, though, so it still could backfire, especially when Claire meets up with DX. About 10 minutes later, Claire comes in the HOH room and it's really awkward. Claire says she is curious about Kylan wanting Xavier out, basically implying Claire is already pushing for Big D to go up. Claire knows Azza won't vote out Big D no matter what. Won't vote Big D out no matter how much she likes Xavier. Hannah says Azza is a question mark and wisely acts like she isn't connected to her at all by saying Claire is closer to Azza than them both. Hannah is so good at lying, she is slick with it. Hannah then leaves to not blow cover. Tiffany asks Claire what Azza will think if Big D goes up. Claire says Azza doesn't trust Alyssa or Kylan, trying to further convince Tiffany that logically this is the best move. This is Claire even acknowledging Xavier is Azza's only real chance to make the end, because she wants Big D next to X to guarantee Azza's game is crippled enough to need Claire to stay safe. This is all high level nuance based strategy from Claire here. She deserves her roses as well. In any other season, I think this pitch works too, but not with this Cookout alliance. Claire says Kylan may prefer keeping X over Big D because X is Kai's only shield. Ding, ding, ding. Claire's read is on point Saturday night. She knows Kai should want Big D gone before X because both are sitting ducks by themselves. Tiffany was in a rush to end this conversation because she knows she ain't doing none of it. Alyssa and Xavier would then go to Big D to talk game. First thing Alyssa does is pretend to be Tiffany to give Big D a crash course on how to throw Xavier under the bus to get Kai thrown up. This, of course, is Alyssa following up on the one-on-one her and X just had. Big D asks Alyssa who her target will be next week. Alyssa says it won't be Azza or Big D, proving Alyssa is after anyone but that four in the double. Now, Big D asks Xavier what he's thinking after Alyssa left. X says he expects Tiff to try to get Alyssa to use veto on himself, but he is smart enough to know that blows up his game, not Tiffany's, so he won't allow it. X is once again proving to be the more superior player in this game because Tiffany's plan will never work. Xavier knows even though Tiffany promised to throw up Claire if Alyssa won veto, they all know Tiff is still scheming, which is bullshit. This just makes Xavier and Big D want Tiffany out more. Big D says if Tiffany doesn't put up Claire, he is blowing up her game and popping off. He then says she is the oldest woman here, so she should be playing it straight, even if it's all backfiring on her. X says this is why she should have never won the HOH. Big D says Tiffany's only big move is another black man as replacement nom. If she does it, she says fuck the whole culture, which is true. We saw that on tonight's episode. Xavier says if she crosses them and there is a battle back, she is screwed. Big D says they should wait before going to see Tiffany to show trust, but they also should apply subtle pressure by continuing conversations with her to confirm Claire going up. Hannah comes in and plays into what both men want to hear. Hannah says she also knows Alyssa is smart enough to use veto on herself. Xavier says forget what Zingbot said, Alyssa is smart. Xavier asks Hannah what the narrative of the week will be. Hannah then tells them Tiffany will name the alliance, but use their names to create the lie of a 1 week deal to justify Claire going up. But Claire is smart enough to know a 1 week deal shouldn't take precedent over a season-long relationship, and even Xavier and Big D didn't agree with this story by the time Hannah finished telling it. Big D sees that no matter what, as long as Claire goes up, the team could be exposed, but this current deal narrative exposes it as much as the truth naturally does while making Claire feel dumber. Hannah says Tiffany has to think about a jury management, not the six jury management. This leads to Xavier showing Hannah it's best to only say a couple names, not the whole alliance. Xavier then says Tiffany thinking about her jury management is becoming an extra burden on the six because they shouldn't be in this position before Big D leaves. As Xavier and Hannah brainstorm on saving Tiffany's jury management, proving they are the better players, Big D walks out of the bedroom into the kitchen as Kylan and Azza discuss cultures outside. Tiffany sees Big D as Tiffany sees Big D, and first thing Hot Cougar Summer has to say is, "I know y'all happy." This is what fans pointing out during my last live stream rant. Tiffany sounded crazy here. Big D asked, "Who is y'all?" referring to. Tiffany says, "The same motherfuckers who was talking shit when I won." Oh, you mean the people who followed the plan that have a reason to like this strategic karma now? Yes. But Big D is too smart to gloat about it because, unlike Tiffany, emotions don't control his entire game. Then Tiffany says she already knows Big D contemplated using veto on Alyssa if he would have won it, proving either Kylan snitched on Big D and X or production is feeding Tiff intel. Maybe it's a bit of both, coach. About an hour later, Claire and Hannah are salty about the veto comp feeling built for Alyssa. Claire even says Alyssa wins that 80% of the time if they did it 10 more times. As this is happening, X tries to help Tiffany devise the house narrative by saying she made a deal with Oz and Big D regarding the double that would include Claire as long as Claire touched a block. This plan in theory sets up Oz and Big D to be the most hated by Claire over Tiffany, so Turncoat Tiff might consider this more. Tiffany then tells Xavier if she has to suffer through this week, she shouldn't have to touch the block during the double. So now Xavier's being set up to be a nominee 4 weeks in a row to make Tiffany feel more comfortable with atoning for her own mistakes. I don't know why people are mad at X for rooting for Alyssa to win HOH. These same people don't want Tiffany touching the block once, but act like Xavier touching it 4 weeks in a row is the least he can do. People can miss me with that shit. Xavier wisely plays along with this narrative Tiffany won't touch the block next week, but everyone knows her mistake by winning HOH makes this deal impossible for a lot of players to keep, especially those closest to Alyssa not named Hannah. After X leaves the HOH, Tiffany talks to Cams and admits this is the worst case scenario. She made her bed and now she has to lay in it. Tiffany says she saved Claire as long as she could. She says fans might say someone else could have done this, but she didn't want Claire leaving this week. So you see that, fans? This proves Tiffany lied about wanting to make history, and she lied about not wanting Kylan to win. She ruined her cookout management for Claire, then ruined her jury management to take out Claire. This is irrefutable. I'm not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it. This is irrefutable at this point. She just admitted to fans that she has been lying to all of Cookout about her real reason. Then she tells fans another lie, saying she did it all for Claire. Well, which one is it? Because I believe you did it for yourself. I honestly believe that to be the truth. And I believe keeping Claire safe was also for yourself. I believe she is just looking for other strands that are somewhat truthful to excuse her actions. Because once again, she's not being held accountable, and she probably knows it. So she's just looking for other pleas to cop. Now let's continue. She says because she did what she wanted, which is always what she gon' do, she gotta lay in the bed she made. Finally, she holds herself accountable for the first time in 2 months. But even this is insincere because she still tried to get Alyssa to use veto on Xavier, proving she even lied to America through cam talks. This is next level narcissism. Oh man, she's been exposed. She's been exposed. See, if you're gonna tell through cam talks, if you're gonna tell America, oh, I did this because I wanted to protect Claire. If you're gonna tell Cams, I did this to protect Claire, then I need you to not be the one that tries to get Alyssa to use veto on Xavier to keep protecting Claire, especially if you now trying to tell America you made your bed, now you gotta lay in it. See, this is her playing both sides of the plate even with us. So doesn't this show you how much of a snake she is to the other players? Is she willing to be a snake to us? Why are you lying to us for? But her fans will take that lie and go, she cares about us because she didn't tell us the truth. Oh, she's a mastermind. She's lying to us too. Even Tamar would tell us the truth in cams. She would tell production falsehoods. Tiffany, I think you're Tamar when you're not. I gotta keep it a bean. At the end of the day, when Tamar talks to Cam, she tells her fans the real shit. She doesn't sugarcoat. She doesn't try to justify her actions. She comes correct to her fans, and that's why her fans, such as myself, could break down her game so well because I knew when she was telling me the truth. So I knew her actual win conditions because I knew her real motivations. Problem with Tiffany is her fans don't even know her real motivations because she all over the place all the time. And because they're all over the place all the time, they almost see their spirit animal in the game. But this is why her fans probably wouldn't be good at the game because they don't know how to take rejection. They don't know even how to take an opinion that differs from theirs without completely going crazy. So these are the people we're talking about. So imagine my surprise to see Amon Adwin, guys like him, who can dish it out shit on X all the time with their moist ass. But then when some Hannah stands come for your neck and it's some women coming for you, because now you can't say, oh, you're being phobic. No, these are women coming at your neck now. You know, the people you wish you were born as. Now you gotta bend the knee a little bit. Huh? Now you gotta be, I don't want no smoke. Because from a political standpoint, he knows women have more power than even his moist black ass. Because black men are hated. And now he's getting a dose of how much we hate it. Because one comment made him public enemy number one. So it just goes to show, even all that moist shit ain't gonna save you when your time comes. It's not gonna save you. Now, Xavier talks to Ozza alone. He tells Ozza he doesn't know why Tiffany is acting like she's on the block when he actually is, and gives her a quick rundown on how he helped Tiffany frame her narrative for throwing up Claire. Ozza doesn't know if Claire will believe anything said to her. He also has Ozza up to speed with how he currently has Alyssa focused on Kai going up until he becomes Claire. Ozza prefers telling Claire the truth, but Xavier doesn't because Alyssa is still here, and that would just expose his game during the double so Tiffany can feel better until the double. Ozza even mentioned how Tiffany thinks she is celebrating the position Tiff is currently in, but she isn't. Ozza seems super focused on Zingbot, saying Xavier called her undateable. Xavier wisely smooths this over by saying the only women he's ever called attractive are Ozza and Alyssa, which is true, which he has said, not only to cams, but also in the edit. This is factual. Then X gets Ozza to see Big D's comments may have influenced what Zingbot said. Sounds to me Zingbot was another plot device used by production to hurt Xavier's game by causing static between him and Ozza. Isn't this also another convenient way for production to help Tiffany by trying to get Ozza to flip on X? Now do y'all see who the real Apex pet is? I just wish Zingbot would have seen Tiffany and Kylan humping on that bed because I bet Tiffany would have been roasted hard. Now I'm going to watch very carefully to see what Zingbot says to others because this feels suspicious. If Xavier wasn't such a good player, he would have been exposed by now. For Zingbot to imply Xavier is full of himself, but not Tiffany, clearly shows bias from even Zingbot. Tiffany being full of herself has actually hurt her game. Xavier's humility has him possibly touching the block 4 weeks in a row for the 6 and still being safe. It's borderline malpractice to call out X for this, but not Tiffany. Especially when she uses the power dynamic of HOH to coerce men 13 years younger than her into sexual blackmail. This shit is deep, but it seems even Zingbot has been paid off to be a Tiffany stan. Ozza says now that X has cleared all that up, they can cuddle again in the future. So understand, black women are mad at Ozza for not falling for Zingbot's production interference to turn on X and hand Tiffany the game, but these fans later in the night will justify the Cougar Chronicles in the HOH room too, proving it's never been about how the man treats the woman to them. It's about if the man lets the woman have her way with him that these female fans prefer. Proving they don't even support real men or masculinity itself. They support the woman being the man, explaining why they support a buck-broken community now. X leaves Ozza to chat with Alyssa but promises to cuddle afterwards. Xavier then plays pool with Alyssa to tell her a fake version of his talk with Tiffany. He keeps Alyssa in the dark on the plan for Claire to go up, and I'm assuming he is doing that now because he can use it later when Tiffany pushes Alyssa to use veto on him. Xavier still has Alyssa under the impression Kylan will go up. Xavier also has made Alyssa aware that he gave Tiffany the okay to paint a fake target on him to get out whoever she chooses to replace Alyssa with. Alyssa is worried Big D would keep his crush Kylan over X. Xavier then alludes to Zingbot saying X called Ozza undateable. That's harsh if true. Wonder if that makes the edit, which it did. It's good to see Alyssa in such a good mood, considering her state of mind at the start of the week. Xavier even said, started from the slop, now we're here. Then Alyssa starts airing out production by saying she sometimes comes in the DR, and if she isn't feeling how they want her to feel, they make her feel worse for it before feeds cut. Sounds like production are trying to get Alyssa to be something she's not, which is not a good sign, because it also tells me Tiffany is being what they want her to be. Oh, we're hitting her. Now, Kylan and Big D study outside together as X and Alyssa continue to strategize on a fake move. Xavier, around 40 minutes later, meets back up with Ozza to cuddle. Big D tells them he is keeping Alyssa on alert to keep her from using veto on X. Hannah then comes in to talk to Ozza and X. She first mentions how Ozza is finally getting wants a unanimous vote of the vote, leading to a 3-2 vote over what could easily be 5-0 or 4-1 at the worst. Ozza thinks a 3-2 vote covers the cookout, but that is cutting everything a little too close for Xavier's taste. Now, Ozza's creating the narrative that leaving the vote 3-2 gives Alyssa 2 targets to go after over just 1 heading into the double. Ozza doesn't want Alyssa coming for her, so it's understandable why she would prefer this outcome. So Ozza wants Hannah and Kylan in the position of being the votes against X, so Alyssa will see Hannah betrayed her right before the double. Seems like Ozza the Mazza has come to play, coach. Ozza says no matter what, she is giving X her vote. If he knows he has the 3 votes to stay from Big D, Alyssa, and Ozza, then she wants him to not worry. So really Xavier is saying Kylan doesn't have a reason to vote to keep Claire, therefore the vote should be 4-1 no matter what. Both sides are making valid points. Xavier is worried Alyssa could be convinced to go rogue by Claire, so for his game, Kai can't do no funny business, and the votes need to be 4-1. And he also needs the 6 not to be revealed to Alyssa before tomorrow night. If that happens, this vote could easily flip right back, and that's why he wants to make sure Kylan is also voting for him to stay over Claire, so worst come to worst, it's 3-2, even if Alyssa flips. But I don't think Alyssa will flip at this point. I just don't believe it. Hannah would form a fake alliance with Alyssa an hour later on the hammock, convincing Alyssa she has no one else in the game. This is very smart for Hannah because it keeps her safe if Alyssa wins HOH. Also, by doing this before Tiffany backstabs Claire, she makes her intentions seem more sincere. Alyssa reveals the Monarchy Alliance regarding SB to Hannah. Both agree their number ones were after each other, so they want the name of their alliance to refer to DX and Christian in some way. Ironically enough, Hannah first calls the alliance Woman Scorned before they agree on the Sloppy Seconds as their final 2 name. An hour later, Hannah would talk with Claire in the bathroom. Claire believes Hannah will outlast Tiffany and herself to eventually win, similar to BB17. In my opinion, this is Claire admitting Hannah is the Steve Moses she thought she was last week. Pay attention. Claire and Hannah agree if both are in Final 2, anyone could win. Hannah basically just made 2 Final 2 deals in less than 2 hours with 2 people she know not even making Final 6. This is ingenious because she is now the good cop to Tiffany's bad cop if you pay attention. Hannah and Kylan both learned Tiffany's style, and they are reflecting it back like Gohan with the Masenko. Hannah asks Claire if Kylan made a Final 2 deal. Claire says no, but Kylan did talk scenarios. Kylan keeps telling everyone he is taking out Tiffany. Oh, well, he is taking Tiffany to Final 2, but Claire and Hannah don't believe him after this week. Now they think he takes Big D over Tiffany. Hannah even says Big D could have a Final 2 with everyone at this point. Hannah gets Claire to see Alyssa is too smart to use veto on Xavier. After Hannah leaves, Claire says to herself that was interesting. Around 10 p.m., Xavier and Big D talk about the Lions. Big D mentions how Ozza and Tiffany have been sitting pretty by never touching the block. Big D even says Ozza not touching the block is better than winning a comp, but she doesn't trust her mouthpiece well enough to use that as part of her reason to win the game. Big D then brings up how anyone else in the 6 besides Tiffany he can approach to talk about anything. He says he can't even crack jokes about Tiffany without her saying he paints her in an angry black woman light. Once again, Tiff does this to Ozza all the time but acts like no one could do it to her. How Tiffany got mad over Big D saying she was like fried chicken and hot sauce. It's funny because I always say they put too much hot sauce on the chicken, so this is pretty funny to me. He says she showed him a painting, but now she wants him to forget what he saw. This is, what is this, Dorian Gray, Big D? Shout outs to all the people who've seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Very good movie. I hope they remake it, by the way, with all the updated CGI and stuff. It would do numbers. But anyway, this is the same problem Tiff stands have. They want us to remember her highlights and forget her lowlights. But your bad moves define your game more than your good moves do 9 times out of 10. People want Tiffany to get more credit than she deserves for following a plan she altered for personal gain. That's some Frenchie shit. You don't get extra credit for doing what you're supposed to do when the mission is involved. This is the precedent these same Tiffany stands set when Kylan and X kept winning before Jerry, remember? But you do get tons of bad juju put on your game if you go against the mission. Tiffany went against the mission on purpose and used two different excuses to cover it up, only to lie to America and the Cookout simultaneously to cover up her preferential treatment of Claire, just to backdoor Claire and cry about it. I don't feel sorry for people who put themselves in the position to get played, especially when they play themselves. Tiff Stans wants you to believe her lack of a choice is sad when she had a choice to not win HOH itself. If Tiff deserves credit for finally following the plan, X deserves more credit for always following the plan. But Tiff Stans won't do that because he's a man, further proving they are the ones who are sexist. Xavier tells Big D about how Tiffany doesn't want to touch the block next week. Big D says Tiffany never said that to him, giving him even more incentive to nominate her. Frazier then mentions how they all touched the block but Ozza and Tiffany. Xavier says Tiff and Ozza never touched the block because of the six. Tiff would have been taken out for playing too hard by now, and Ozza would have been taken out for not playing hard enough. They admit all of their games would have been worse without the six, but they don't like the double standards. Big D mentions this is why Tiffany is so concerned with what happens in the six. X says Tiffany, well, in Final Six, X says Tiffany threw her game down the toilet, but now she wants a life raft. But then when they devise a plan for her life raft, she wants a boat. This is facts. This is facts. Every time you solve her initial issue, she got a new issue for you to try to solve for her. And I think it's done strategically to keep you focused on a whole bunch of other shit as she tries to plot your demise. While you're plotting to help her game, she's plotting on how to hurt yours. Right? So once again, this is another reason why I don't feel sorry for her. You know? X says they both have to tell Tiffany what she wants to hear until Claire goes up. Xavier also told Big D when Kylan told Tiffany that X has thrown comps for the six since week 2, Tiffany said that's his fault. This just makes X want to win veto just to take Alyssa off. I'm so glad he didn't do this, because boy, the amount of X hate. X getting hate now, and Alyssa took herself off. Imagine the type of hate be on social media right now if X did that. And Tiffany still put up Claire as the replacement album, oh, people be throwing it. But if roles were reversed and Tiffany did that for Claire, goated. Tiffany ends up coming outside to interrupt their conversation 20 minutes later, which was super bizarre. It's like production paged her that black men were holding her accountable, so she showed up. Exposed. Tiffany tries to get these guys to feel bad for her in her tough spot, but once again, they don't feel bad because she put herself in this. Eventually, Kylan comes outside to hear Tiffany vent some more. Tiffany is worried about it being a tough 4 days for herself, so she wants the 3 black men to hurt their jury management by making false promises to Claire to even the playing field so Tiff still gets their jury vote. All right? This is the boat Xavier was referring to. Tiffany takes a mile if you try to give her an inch. This is why she isn't trusted. Tiffany wants to know when they can tell Claire she is going home. Big D then says all of the jury will know about the six anyway, so it's best to just let it be what it is. Xavier even says someone black is winning and they're going to have to deal with it. This was basically a therapy session for Tiffany. Now let's get into Sunday's feeds. Everyone wishes Final Six could hurry up and come. Tiffany says she knew talking all that shit, that hot shit, would backfire on her. She even clowns herself a little bit for sending Claire home during her HOH. Tiffany says after this they can't say she ain't loyal before almost starting another, I don't know what that means. Before starting another conversation? I don't even know what that meant. And going to bed. Oh, no. I think I was basically saying before starting some more foreplay and going to bed. I don't know. But anyway, Big D then gets Ozza up to speed on Claire being confirmed to be sent to the Shadow Realm as Xavier acts like he's going to sleep, only to double back and go outside with Ozza and Big D again. Eventually, Big D put his foot in his mouth, implying Ozza needs to win a comp over discussing the vote, leading to Xavier getting out of there because he saw Big D fucked up. Big D even said he's been lying and scheming for the both of them because Ozza doesn't do it. Kylan in the HOH defends Xavier to Tiffany, saying X wants to go to Final Four with him still. Tiffany seems super worried about X coming for her, so this is why she is cuddling up to Kai. Pay attention. She's the I don't need a man player until she wrongs a man. Then she becomes the pick me player again. Tiffany specifically said she doesn't trust Ozza because she may have something with X. Kylan wants Ozza gone before Big D because she is keeping Xavier from that Final Four the most, in his mind. This proves once and for all that Ozza's best move is going with X and Big D to the end, which is what I've been saying. Tiffany and Kylan would lay in that bed to discuss X for damn near 2 hours straight. She uses this us against the world narrative to show Kylan they are the new Jackson, Mickey, and Holly. And see, this is also problematic. If you're a black fan of this game, why are you comparing yourself to one of the most racist couples you can think of in recent Big Brother history? Why couldn't you compare yourself to Swaley? Oh, well, Holly and Jackson made the end. That's why. No, at the end of the day, this is just once again Tiffany showing y'all she put non-black people on a pedestal. And I'm getting y'all to see it. Because of all the couples she could have named, Jackson, Mickey, and Holly, why even give them free publicity? I'm just showing y'all how off code she is, even in her rhetoric with Kylan. Eventually, around 2:18 a.m. is when we see Kylan fingering Tiffany under the sheets as she tries to keep herself from becoming Moaning Myrtle. It came back to haunt you, Tiffany, in these chamber of secrets. I already discussed why this is an L, so I won't go any further now. If y'all want to see why this is a massive L, go check out my mid-season WTF. I basically ethered her over there. Around 9:20 a.m., Tiffany talks to Ozza about sending Claire home for the 6 to get a read on whether Ozza is close to Xavier or not. Tiffany is trying to get Ozza to turn on X by making her insecure about Alyssa, but by now Ozza is back on side with X. About an hour later, Tiffany tells Xavier she plans to go with Hannah's plan to tell Claire she made a promise not to throw up two black people at the same time when she could have just used Xavier's story of making a deal with Ozza and Big D. Tiffany refusing to use Xavier's story is clearly due to her preferring to hide behind every black player over just two of them. It's done to even the playing field for Claire's vote, like I said. Claire will always view Tiffany as above the rest of these black folks who pressured her to do this to little old Claire who could dunk a basketball. It's all designed to make it seem as if Tiffany's hand was forced. It's all designed to make Claire always want to reward Tiffany over any of these other Negroes. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. When if she would have just went with Xavier's plan, there's a chance Claire votes for Hannah and Kylan at the end over Tiffany. Tiffany don't want that shit. Tiffany says Brittany, DX, and SB are smart. They probably know about the 6. Xavier doesn't want Tiffany doing this plan because it leaves the 6 easier to expose, and it compromises Xavier's game with Alyssa, but Tiffany wants it this way just to make Xavier's terrain a little tougher because hers is. X is trying to get her to see Alyssa will flip and work with Hannah if this blows up, but Tiffany doesn't see it that way. If you connect the dots, Tiffany is scared Xavier has Alyssa and Ozza along with Big D. She is purposely using a worse excuse to throw Claire up, so Xavier is once again forced to do more work before Thursday. She wants to not go up next week, but she doesn't even want to take the advice the men give her to build trust with them. Xavier got visibly mad over this because now Tiffany is trying to tell him how his person is going to react to certain stuff, as if she is the expert on Alyssa's game during a week where she screwed up her own game enough to ask for Xavier's help on saving it. So imagine someone who constantly asks you for advice, but they don't take it, and then they act as if they are more of an expert on your shit than you. That's Tiffany. The irony here is next level. Lastly, Tiffany asks Xavier what to say to Claire, and X just reiterates that the 5-person promise alibi reveals the 6, reveals the 6, puts the 6 in grave danger. Xavier even says they have been lying and finessing up to this point. Now isn't the time to start telling the truth just because things are starting to blow up the alliance, just because things are starting to blow up her game. Xavier was spitting bars here, and notice how Tiffany does not come at him sideways like she comes at Big D because she knows X can win some comps. See, this just further proves Tiff is a coward because her energy is only confrontational towards the player she doesn't fear that can win stuff, proving she is a front runner like I've been saying. Their one-on-one conversation ends shortly after this. Tiffany talks to Ozza after Xavier and says blatantly lying to Claire's face is what she is struggling with. Oh, so Tiffany can lie to a black man's face like Xavier before winning an HOA she didn't need, but it's okay for her to do this? This just further shows how off code she is. She acting like Claire did something for her in this game besides keep noms the same during a secret HOH reign. Claire chose giving herself 2 weeks of safety over giving Tiffany and Kai safety for a week. I mean, name something Claire has really done this season to garner all of this support. What has she done but be white and exist? She has no tangible move she can claim that did anything to shake up this game. Xavier got out Brent. The same fans that love Claire and say she deserved to make the end are the ones saying Xavier did nothing for the 6. This is how delusional this fan base has become. They've become totally delusional. Tiffany is out here acting like she is willing to be a coon before she is willing to lie to a white woman. It's a shame. Tiffany finally admits the real truth. She is worried about Claire being bitter. Hannah then mentions how she considered telling the truth to Claire, but was shut down by X and Big D. Tiffany then mentions how X shut her down too, because she doesn't know Alyssa like he does. But the men have a point. Why now should it be revealed? Why couldn't it be revealed when SB was about to leave? Why is Claire so special? DX was done dirty too. SB was done more dirty. Now, because Claire was going up on your HOH because you didn't trust the six should out themselves to make your job of following the plan easier? This is completely stupid. And mark my words, Tiffany would never want this to happen if Claire would have went when Brittany went. If Tiffany would have lost DX and Claire to start off the jury, she wouldn't be saying let's out the six now. She would say no, let's keep it under wraps because she would have lost her plus ones earlier because she knows she doesn't get hurt by it. See, Big D and Ozza, they know by losing their plus ones early, they don't benefit from outing the six to Claire here because she goes back into the jury with facts to tell people. And even though Kylan aired out the alliance, he didn't get into specifics. That's why Brittany thinks Big D and Ozza wasn't part of it. They want to craft their narrative. Tiffany is trying to make it so they can't even craft their jury management narrative. Just because her narrative is fucked up because she was selfish. So once again, what has she learned from her mistake because she's still being selfish now? It's just that she got caught that she regrets it. That's the key. I need y'all to see that. Her getting caught is the difference now. That's the difference. And my connection is tweaking a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies. I don't know why, but it's going to get back to where it needs to be real soon. Don't worry. Now, Xavier has every right to want this plan to stay a secret until the last second. If Alyssa didn't win veto, nobody would even be contemplating telling her a thing. Also, Claire was gassed up to get Big D out during the double, so nobody even owes Claire a thing. Hold on. My connection tweaking like a mug right now. Hold up, coach. Hold on now. I don't know what's going on. Hey, y'all, I'm going to get this connection. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I did everything on my end to get this connection back up to speed. My apologies for the technical difficulties. But now y'all see why I did that one yesterday pre-recorded. I wanted to make sure we didn't have this type of issue. But let's continue where we left off. Xavier has every right to want this plan to stay a secret until the last second. If Alyssa didn't win veto, nobody would even be contemplating telling her a thing. Also, Claire was gassed up to get Big D out during the double, so nobody even owes Claire a thing. This is more so Tiffany trying to get too much out of the situation when she still owes the group. She hasn't even gone through with the back door yet, but she has all these demands still. That in itself shows she doesn't regret being selfish, she regrets being exposed. Tiffany claims her dignity and integrity matter to her in this game. This is literally hours after embarrassing her son by letting a man young enough to be her son finger her, so dignity isn't what she's about. She also kept going against the six in favor of non-black people, showing her integrity ain't shit to write home about either. The fact she only mentions dignity and integrity when it's time to get Claire out to finish the mission, but dignity and integrity weren't on her mind when she rigged a twist to Claire in the first place, just further shows she purposely says false statements. While Hannah and Tiffany talk, Xavier and Kylan talk in the have-not room. Xavier is pissed Alyssa could find out about the six while in the game, and Kylan is making it seem like that's what he always wanted with SB. Xavier says nobody but him has to deal with that, so that move is designed to screw X over the most. It is. Kylan thinks Alyssa will have no choice but to trust X even if she knows about the six, but X knows Alyssa will feel played and she might flip with Hannah. This isn't about Xavier wanting Alyssa safe. It's about X protecting his jury management just like Tiffany has everyone helping her with hers. Why when a black man asks for help with his jury management, it's a problem. But Tiffany can stumble into needing help and it's expected. This is what has Xavier so heated. The double standard. X feels like he keeps getting fucked over by ungrateful people, and rightfully so. Hannah stays in the HOH until Claire and Kylan come. Then she leaves as Alyssa comes up to talk to Jokers in the back bedroom to keep them in the loop on Tiffany's narrative for Claire. Around 1:26 p.m., Xavier and Kylan leave the HOH room to let Tiffany speak to Claire. Tiffany starts off everything, making it seem like she is a target now, so the only way to not be targeted is for Claire to do what the house wants. Oh, I'm this woman who's in control of everything, but now I'm targeting you, Claire, because all these big bad people are making me. Oh, I can't own up to what I'm deciding to do. Oh. She says she won last week to keep Claire safe. She won this week for the same reason, but now Tiffany knows she is a bigger target than Claire is after winning HOH. She says Alyssa was her target and she doesn't have any deals with Xavier, but game aside, her personal preference is to not send someone black home first. She says she knows they were all coming for her and she won anyway to stop that from happening. This leads to Tiffany saying she can't put anyone else up. Claire says they are just going to vote her out. Tiffany says Ozza and Hannah may keep her. Then she just needs one vote. But Ozza not doing that, so. Then Tiffany starts the waterworks. She says game aside, she didn't want this to happen to her. She says when this game is over, she has to be comfortable in her own skin. That basically is her telling you, I got to get rid of you so these black folks don't cancel my black ass. Tiffany says she is so hurt she didn't win the veto to keep Claire safe. But see, this is where I got to be like, Tiffany, let yourself off the hook a little bit here. Claire competed for veto. Her weak ass did not compete better than Alyssa because she got them big ass hands that can dunk a basketball. All right? So at the end of the day, Claire needed to win this veto to save herself. You didn't have to win shit to save her. She didn't win shit. You know, and this is where I'll defend Tiffany a little bit. You don't have to beat yourself up for all of this. At the end of the day, you took Claire as far as you can escort her, man. This was like an escort mission. This like God of War or some shit. Huh? You with Atreus all fucking day. By the way, that's a great game. Because, and I ain't trying to get off topic, but I'm saying it's an escort mission game with a twist to it. Because as the game moves along, actually it's kind of like Last of Us in that sense. As the game moves along, whether you're with Ellie or you're with Atreus, the kid grows up with the adult as the game moves along. And they go from being, you know, like, no discipline to having tons of discipline, going from being scared of monsters to being fearless around monsters, and that type of shit makes these games really fun. But I'm saying this to say, Claire's been following this woman around like a damn puppy dog. It's time to let her go. You feel it, dig me? It is what it is, you know? At a certain point, y'all got to stop treating these non-Cookout members like little kids. First thing comes out of Claire's mouth is, are you in an alliance with them? Tiffany, of course, lies because X doesn't want the six outed. Claire is shell-shocked something serious. Tiffany wants her to be honest with her, but Claire ain't saying shit. You can tell she is beyond mad. I'm sure Claire is going to blame a black man for this, too. Come on, coach. I mean, listen, it's her locker. Listen, this is her gameplay. Her strategy, I told y'all this. If she ain't bashing a black man, she don't even have a personality, my guy. If she were to go to an all-white club, I don't know how she gets along with people, because she had no black man to bash. Huh? I mean, it is what it is. Claire believes she is cooked because Kylan would always keep X over her. I don't know about that either. Ozza already promised X her vote too, so really it's impossible for Claire to stay unless she gets Alyssa to flip and Kylan. Claire tells Tiffany they will send Tiff out right after her. Tiffany says she can live with that for her conscience. Then Claire starts the white girl crying technique by saying she would have never done this to Tiffany. Then both embrace. Am I a bad person for loving every second of this? I really felt like Doflamingo smiling while watching. I'm like, am I a bad person? You know, I say all the, oh man, this is so touching. I'm over here watching this like, man, this is great TV. You feel it, dig me? Like, I'm loving this shit. You know what I mean? Claire has been anti-black man for a month, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for her now? As the philosopher Chief Keef once said, nah, you feel it, dig me, coach? Let's talk about it. Anti-black women, that's the shit that I don't like? Nah, you feel it, dig me? Claire then asks if all of them wanted her gone, and Tiffany says all of them but Hannah and Kylan. If that was really true, Tiffany throws HOH to Kylan, proving she is willing to lie to Claire's face. She is just more willing to lie to Claire to hurt the games of people outplaying her more. This also proves Kylan fingering Tiffany got her giving him credit for stuff he ain't even doing now. I don't know if this man, I don't know if he ain't have no nails or if he had tons of nail action, but she acting like he did a number on her. Now all of a sudden, oh, well, Kylan, he loves you too, Claire. Trust me. You feel it, dig me. The cougar inside can confirm this. Like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Tiffany would continue to bash Xavier a lot on Sunday. Tiffany appears jealous Xavier has the love of the people. When Claire goes to the coral room alone after this talk, she refers to the rest of the house as these people when she says she doesn't want to talk to them anymore. What you mean by them people? These people, huh? Nah, I ain't gonna go there with it. I just wanted to be funny. But at the end of the day, it is funny how the dog whistling started to come out soon as the puppy dog got backdoored. I'm just saying what it is. I'm just saying what it is. I'm just reporting what I see. Tiffany would talk to Cams after telling Claire what's up. She said that was the hardest thing she has ever had to do this season because she really values Claire. Oh, you talking about the woman you tried to get sent home over DX? She's fake as shit, dog. She don't care about them, man. She just want to make sure white folks she got to go back to working with at the phlebotomy hospital or wherever she be at. She just want to make sure all of them white women nurses don't think she racist. That's what this is about. Huh? She trying to rebrand herself as much as CBS right now. Oh, I'm going in now. Y'all need to let me. Maybe that break is what I needed real quick to restart the router. I feel like I got a sensu bean. Let me chill out though. She says life is full of tough decisions, and this is the toughest one. Tiffany says Claire deserves the truth, but the cookout deserves her loyalty more, so she found common ground between the two. I mean, this chick she talking like she Captain Marvel all of a sudden. What's going on? Tiff eventually tells Hannah what happened with Claire, and Hannah tells it to Xavier and Aza, who now know Claire knows. Claire would be left alone in the coral room to collect her thoughts for about 10 minutes before she walks around the house with shades on and a Michigan hoodie. Claire says she isn't mad, she is just truly sad, but she will fight to stay. Claire then says everyone thinks Kai is Dan, but Xavier is the real Dan, and she plans to take Dan out. Good luck with that, coach. It's like we in the dark tournament, and Kuwabara tried to fight Taguro. That's what it sounds like with Claire. I'm gonna get you out, X. Sure, bro. Sure. This is like Hey Arnold when he had to fight Harold, so he acts crazy for a day, bashing trash cans over his head and shit to make it. Nigga, you a little too crazy for me to be fighting. I'm cool. And Arnold was like, yes, I didn't get beat up. Yes, I beat myself up. Yes. Claire, that's your game, huh? You had a twist that could have nuked this whole shit. Then you get backdoored. Now you're trying to tell America you're pro-black and you support Tiffany's actions and backdooring you. But then on feeds, you got the nerve. I just want to shake Asa. Play for your game, girl. This is Big Brother. I thought you understood why Tiffany threw you up because you was pro-black for the movement. Now all of a sudden you're bashing Asa for being for the movement over you? Claire, you fucked up. I told y'all this chick is, she flogging, man. She flogging, dog. It's going to take a while for people to see she grifting, bro. When she hook up with DX and that jury and she starts sneak dissing, she start dog whistling, y'all gonna see the real her. Alright? But hell, maybe she'll be in a good mood too, just like Tiffany was after she got some D from Kai. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Well, she got some fingers, let's be honest. But damn, you would have thought she got the D the way she acting. But that's neither here nor there. Claire says she isn't mad, she is just truly sad. She then quotes Daniel Reyes by saying it's just business, but Daniel Reyes is real life friends with Xavier. Even Danielle ain't rooting for you, Bigfoot. What are you talking about? Is this chick drunk or high?
Drinking. Somebody been smoking and drinking. Somebody been smoking and drinking.
Seriously.
Somebody been smoking
match that shit,
and
Claire,
drinking.
because you high as hell right now. Match that shit. You know what I'm saying? Match that shit. On FaceTime, match that shit. Cause you tweaking. Boy, bless my bottle. Now let's get into Monday's feeds. I'm clowning now. Around midnight, Hannah and Tiffany are beginning to turn on Xavier, hoping Kylan keeps X in the dark about the Final Four plan. Tiffany then asks Hannah why Xavier's after her so bad. It's because you prove to be the most anti-black. Seriously. Tiffany didn't care when Kai and X were beefing last week. She loved that shit. And she even gassed Claire up to target them both. So I find it very rich that she continues to act like the victim when X is the victim who's on the block, who her messy gameplay could still send home. It's crazy to me how the person on the block has more composure than the one sitting in HOH. Hannah then says Kylan is their insurance policy versus Xavier if they do make it to the Final Four. Both women know they washed Kylan in Final Two, but honestly, there is a chance for Kai to beat Tiffany, depending on how Tiffany reaches the end. If she somehow betrays Azza before Kai might get Azza, Big D, Xavier, and SB's votes. That means all he needs is Alyssa to vote with X, and Tiffany loses the game. I think Hannah has the better chance of beating Kai right now than Tiffany because Alyssa likes Hannah way more than she would ever like Tiffany. Kylan would come back to the HOH room. Hannah tells them both what is on Claire's mind regarding the vote. She makes them aware Claire isn't fighting touching the block. She is just fighting to stay. The only vote Claire really has locked in is Hannah, but she assumes she has Azza's vote even though she doesn't. Azza doesn't want to have to lie, so she is making it seem like she hasn't decided. Hannah says Azza voting to keep X doesn't hurt Azza's game. See, Hannah is so logical, she has no problem with what Azza is doing because it makes sense for her game. Kylan wants Azza to just tell Claire the truth so Kai and Hannah can lock in their votes for Claire, leaving it up to Alyssa to decide who stays. This makes the most sense for the six because it gives Alyssa the illusion of having the most power, and it also makes sure Claire doesn't blame the six for going out more than blame Alyssa for being the swing. Now I get why Azza didn't want it to be 4-1, because she wanted to make sure she didn't hurt her jury management while also making sure Alyssa goes for three people before her. If Alyssa wins HOH, in theory, if it's 4-1, Alyssa thinks she can trust Hannah. If it's 3-2, Hannah just hurt her game with Alyssa to help her jury management with Claire. Honestly, the vote should be 5-0 because Claire isn't that important and because it's just the right move for everyone heading in the final seven. Making it 5-0 keeps Alyssa after only Tiffany. Making it 5-0 also keeps Xavier from being mad at you, Kylan. I get it if it's 4-1, but 3-2 is doing too much. Kylan eventually comes up with a plan for Tiffany to convince Alyssa to use veto on Xavier. Monday morning around 8:30 a.m., Tiffany is worried about X being after her during the double, and she doesn't really want to follow through with backdooring Claire. So she tries this last-ditch effort to convince Alyssa to take S off with the idea that Alyssa won't have the votes, but this is just going to make Alyssa go after Tiffany more if she doesn't buy the BS. Tiffany just keeps overplaying her hand. As Tiff, Hannah, and Kylan talk in the bathroom around 9:40 a.m. to plot on how to make Alyssa look foolish, Big D and Xavier are protecting Alyssa like the Kingsguard from Game of Thrones. On the real, dog. I thought I saw Sir Bron in the cut. You feel it, dig me, coach? Like, literally, Big D is in one of the nominations chairs, Alyssa in the other one, and you got Xavier in the cut, like, just watching. Like, hey, man, ain't none of y'all finna fuck with her before this ceremony now. Y'all better hurry this up. You feel it? And we had fans on social media clowning them for this. But this what you gotta do when Turncoat Tiff is around. Huh? You gotta, hey man, listen, hey, y'all not talking to her unless I'm around because right now I can't trust that y'all won't reveal the six to her. You feel it? Oh, my connection tweaking again. No, please don't tweak connection. I'm feeling it right now. Okay, it's coming back. The Stones. The Stones are powering up the Wi-Fi. Let's get it cracking. You feel it, dig me? But yes. So at the end of the day, that's what's going on here. They're protecting her like the Kingsguard. Big D woke up feeling like the target again, too. It must be Monday. Alyssa would walk away for a second, and Tiffany shows up to the living room to talk to Xavier and Frazier. The Bald brothers are playing it off like they trust Tiffany to do what needs to be done. But truthfully, Big D and X don't trust this woman. Suspiciously, though, feeds went down during the time Tiff tried to pitch to Alyssa to take off Xavier, so we will never know for sure if she even tried to convince her because they hid Tiff's lowlights again. Notice how every time Tiff tries to pitch for something that will never work, we don't get to see her crash and burn? It's just implied that she crashed and burned. And then in tonight's episode, we don't see anything of Tiffany trying to fight for Claire. We don't see none of that because production once again doesn't want to show Tiffany being hesitant in her move. They want to make it seem like she's staunch in her support for the black folks. So this is production trying to help Tiffany with a rebrand, even though they know the truth. She contemplated being anti-black once again. So at the end of the day, this is more proof that production loves Tiffany the most in the six. It is not even, I don't know how people can argue this at this point. There's too much proof backing this up. Production won't even show Tiffany when she does some fuck shit anymore, the way they would easily show it from someone else. They won't show it from her. Now, we're in the post veto ceremony era now, ladies and gentlemen. After Claire gets backdoored, and this is basically now the moment that we're at is now after the episode that aired tonight. So here we go. After Claire gets backdoored, Xavier tells Big D and Ozza he is after Tiffany more than Kylan, but both are problematic. Alyssa replaces Xavier outside. Alyssa asks Ozza and Big D if they are down to keep X by weakening Tiffany to take out Claire. Of course the Jokers are on board. Alyssa thinks it will be 4-1 because of Hannah. Alyssa even clowns Zingbot by saying she isn't that dumb because that plan worked. Alyssa then revealed Tiffany talked to her 5 minutes before the ceremony off feeds to take off Xavier. Alyssa then clowned Tiffany for thinking she could be persuaded so easily to do such a dumb move. I'm super impressed by Alyssa here, and it's so good to see Ozza and her on the same page. Ozza refusing to lie doesn't add much to this conversation once Big D leaves. A lot of repetitive game talk would happen on Labor Day before the barbecue, cutting feeds for a while around 4 p.m. Feeds would then return around 6:25 after the barbecue. Everyone seems to be in a good state of mind. Big D and Kai would talk game around 8:30 p.m. Kai tells Big D he is super excited that they are on the precipice of making history together. Kai admits regretting in not being able to explain the 6 to SB in ways Tiff and X will get to with their plus ones. Kai believes even though it's an emotional week, it's a positive one because they are almost at the finish line. Big D and Kylan would then continue to study dates the rest of their conversation. Around 9 p.m., Xavier does laundry and then goes to the hammock to talk to Ozza alone. Ozza has scenarios in her head that she wants to hash out before the double. Ozza prefaces everything by making sure X doesn't want to touch the block during the double. Ozza snitches on Hannah to Xavier by telling him she would be okay with Hannah being on the block next to Kylan if Alyssa won veto. Xavier doesn't believe Hannah goes home over Kai, though. This is, of course, what Ozza wants to further. This is, of course, what Ozza wants to further push. This is, of course, what Ozza wants to further push her to use Hannah as a pawn. Well, this is, of course, what Xavier wants for Ozza to push Hannah as a pawn because she is also who Ozza trusts the least after Kylan. Turns out, Hannah even told Ozza she thinks Tiffany betrays her for Kylan. So Hannah is pivoting here very subtly just in case Alyssa wins HOH. Pay attention. But she's also pivoting because she doesn't want her man touching the block during the double. Ozza, you on code, coach. I told y'all she was wifey material. Do not be surprised if her and X hook up after the game and it becomes something serious. I'm calling it now. Because when a woman go this hard for you, when all these other women start to abandon you, you're going to start to see her a little differently. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm just telling you what it is, man. I see a lot of potential in these two. I see a lot of potential. And I'm not trying to sell Ozza fans down the river. I honestly do. I was saying this a month ago, because I see it. I just think Xavier, for his game, he can't afford to be talking reckless until Alyssa gone. Then I think he might kiss this girl. I'm telling y'all what it is, bro. Xavier, no. Oh, I gotta get her on my side for the late game. He don't even know Ozza told Cam she with him for the late game. He gonna start confirming these things in a second. That's all I'm gonna say. Now, Xavier already has Tiffany's game clocked. He can see she is trying to get Kylan to sit next to Tiffany in Final 2. So now because Ozza knows Kylan is getting close to Tiff, she is worried about who she throws up if Alyssa wins veto, believing X would have the votes to stay. If Ozza's HOH in this scenario, X would stay because Alyssa and Big D should keep him over Kylan. But why even risk it? Something tells me Ozza's worried about Big D sending Hannah home, but Big D won't have the votes because Tiffany will vote out Kylan too. It's just hard to tell for sure from Ozza's vantage point. Imagine if Tiff sent Hannah home over Kylan when she could have forced a tie. That would give Hannah the excuse to be bitter, but she's too logical for that. However, I do see Tiffany betraying Hannah if she thinks X has Ozza and Alyssa because, at that point, Tiffany will be forced to hide behind a man. Problem is, if Tiffany backstabs Hannah for Kylan, it just makes Kylan stay over Tiffany too. Hannah is somewhat playing Ozza here to make her think she isn't that close to Tiffany, but as long as Ozza has X, she can't really be played at all. That's why Asa is becoming the Maza. She finally has the moral support she needed all game. Xavier brings up how Tiffany depriving Asa of seeing her family was terrible. X mentioned how today he read a letter from his family when he woke up. How something so simple can do so much to motivate you in this house. Xavier is driving home all the right talking points to show Asa she can trust him. He is showing the type of emotional empathy that she always wanted from Tiffany, too. Pay attention. X says he's trying to make sure everyone can eat, but others are back in line for seconds before anyone eats anything. Because this is all before the six. Xavier was preaching, and he sounds like me on these feeds. X even compared the game of Big Brother to basketball. And y'all know I love a sports analogy. Xavier said some players like the stat pad, others are about the team winning. He ethered Tiffany on this hammock by implying she was a stat patter that isn't that good. He basically called her a system player. Oh, damn. And it's true. She's a system player. This archetype does not work on a standard season. Granted, I think every black person doesn't have anywhere near the same success on a standard season. But with that said, because people are piping her up to be this player who would still win if the cookout wasn't here, it's important for moments like these to be added into my analysis because it shows me Xavier almost 1-to-1 sees the game like I see it. I got to give him credit for that because the man is smart, man. He ethered Tiffany on this hammock, and I can tell Asa loves this shit deep down. Asa says she wants to communicate with everyone but Kylan within the six. X tells her to avoid positions where she may have to lie because that is important to her resume. Now, on Tuesday's feeds, around midnight, Kylan and Tiffany are doing more flirting in the bed like they just found puberty yesterday. Around 1 a.m., Big D and Xavier are clowning Tiffany something serious. Both men agree Tiffany has to be taken out before Kylan for their games. They know Alyssa targets Kai and Tiffany before anyone else in the six, so this also explains why they preferred Claire leaving before Alyssa. Xavier says he preferred Kylan leaving right after Tiffany, because then it's Big D, Xavier, and Asa versus Hannah in Final Four. Both men agree Tiffany is self-interested. They agree her trying to get Alyssa to use veto on Xavier just to save Claire after saying she would throw Claire up was her just being selfish again. Xavier is heated. Tiffany gets to complain about not wanting to touch the block while X touches the block for the six with no complaints. X is mad. Tiffany told him he had to drop but didn't drop herself. Big D wants Xavier to see Tiffany wanted to start her winner's edit by winning that HOH, but it turned into her loser's edit. Xavier believes back-to-back HOHs cost Tiffany $750,000. X believes sending Claire home also ruins her jury management, and ruining the plan now hurts her cookout management. All these mistakes Tiffany made has got Big D a lot closer to X. Also, Big D and X started the actual alliance called the Cookout, so from their perspective, the men deserve more respect. Proving my take on the game is becoming their take on Tiffany's game. Big D says Tiffany is walking around the house petty, asking about where people are and where he is conspiring at. Big D sees Tiffany as trying to bait him into arguments because she messed up. Big D says if he was her, he would man up to admit he messed up and just go out in Final Six. He is clowning right now. Both agree Tiffany is completely fucked. Big D then says Tiffany's biggest problem is she has no man to check her back home. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ain't this what I said in my mid-season WTF? Uh-oh. She runs the show and can't be told shit in everyday life, so she thought she could pull that slick shit off in this house. Big D says Tiffany started freaking out the moment she realized she no longer had X and Kai on her side, which is facts. Tiffany's game has always been about men dragging her places and being shields, but if they are directly after her, her glass cannon persona begins to show. Hence why she is doing all this thottery with Kylan. She needs a man to protect her from another man, even though her fans claim she was the strongest in the six. These fans hated Asa for cuddling with X, but allow a 42-year-old woman to act like she's in a frat house. The double standards in this community are just weird. Big D and Xavier are happy. All the people of color made jury this season, and they're super happy. The final seven is all people of color. That also is history, by the way. They believe if people are mad the Cookout all made the end, too bad, so sad. Because every season has a dominant alliance. This season's alliance just happens to be black. Big D and X agree. If Tiffany is first one out of the six, she can't be salty about it. Big D says if he wins HOH during the double, Tiffany and Alyssa will be as noms, meaning if Alyssa wins veto, Tiffany goes home in final seven next to Hannah because Alyssa and Xavier vote to keep Hannah in a 2-2 tie, leading Big D to be the sole e-vote to send her home. This scenario on Thursday night would break the internet, and it would lead to so many merch sales. I mean, can we be honest, man? When I tell y'all them hoodies, them t-shirts, they gonna sell like hotcake if he vote to evict. Now, I want the six to make the six, but I'm just saying, my job is to show y'all the timelines, okay? And I'm just showing y'all the timeline. People got so butthurt over that community post, didn't they? Oh man, I baited out all of the idiots. Like, and see, they don't even realize that the part of the joke that's the most funny is the fact that Tiffany was doing this very same type of scheming before she fucked up. Right? They don't acknowledge her fuck up. They act like that never happened. You crack a joke, they take it as serious because they're butthurt over what Tiffany is fucked up over. Now I knew you hated it. Okay, all right. Welcome to the void. All right, you can dick ride her there. Beware of the Goliath. You feel the dig me? Come on, dog. Let's keep it real. This scenario on Thursday night would break the internet. Not only would it make Tiffany Stan's rage quit on the season, it would give Big D the revenge he deserves for not being able to win Coin of Destiny. This would be one of the most iconic Big Brother moments ever. Now, I skipped a lot of Tuesday's feeds because a lot of game talk was regurgitated from Monday. On Wednesday, around 1 p.m., Xavier talks to Azah again in the bedroom to give his final campaign pitch. He tells her if he is taken out, Claire, Hannah, and Tiffany have way too much power heading in a final seven. Also, he clearly is a massive shield for everyone who votes to keep him, while Claire is a shield for no one. All great points. Big D and Azah want Kylan out, so Kylan likely works with those four against Alyssa, Azah, and Big D. Xavier treats Azah like an equal in these conversations by not dumbing himself down, and I think intelligent people admire those who treat them like they are smart people. The difference in Xavier's implementation of campaigning versus Claire's is night and day. Claire's strategy is, look at how strong this black man is. Keep me. Xavier's strategy is, I can help you make the end more than Claire's bitch ass could. Keep me. It's different gravy what X is offering here. It's literally that brown gravy grandma used to make versus that southern style white gravy from the damn golf course that Claire trying to get popping off. I mean, Claire got that country fried chicken gravy. Xavier got that soul food Big Mama put her foot in it gravy. And that's why Azah not buying the bullshit you're selling, Claire. She's seen enough, Claren. She's seen enough. Huh? The shadow realm awaits. You feel a dig me, coach. And please believe, she wanted Alyssa to go before you, Claire, but it's your time. It's your time. You know? You can't see me. My time is now. You feel it, dig me. Now, Azah wants everyone to play and target Alyssa to make sure they make history, except Xavier, who can't win HOH next. He is the only person who can really throw this. The rest have no excuse. Xavier agrees. One of them must win HOH, and one of them must win veto over Alyssa. Around 2 p.m. after feeds return, Hannah tells Kai and Tiffany that Alyssa doesn't know her days well at all. I'm thinking feeds cut because it has something to do with the double HOH comp. Xavier goes to tell Big D downstairs to confirm what his noms will be if he wins HOH. Big D will do Tiff and Alyssa during the double. Azah will do Kylan and Alyssa during the double. And X has to throw the comp. Big D goes looking for Azah and he finds her hiding. Azah was hiding between the bed and the wall just so more people couldn't try to campaign to her. That's how real shit's gotten. She's like, you know what? I don't want to lie to motherfuckers, so I'm just gonna play hide and go seek. Listen, I was rolling watching this shit on feeds earlier. I was like, damn, she out here hiding, coach. Huh? She like, oh, hopefully they don't notice me if I don't move. You feel it, dig me? Like she was laid out just planking, coach. Now, Big D goes looking for Azah and finds her hiding. Big D wants to know what they should do with the goodbye messages. Big D was convinced by Xavier that it's not fair to reveal the alliance because then Brittany will be pissed at Azah and Big D the most. But little do they know, Brittany doesn't even think they were included at all in this. Azah is clearly hiding because these tryhards are trying to catch her in a lie and she can't afford to do that right now. Her mind is made up on saving her man and she has fans butthurt by it. But like I've been said, Azah's only legit chance at winning this game is working with Xavier. I said this weeks before anyone else online admitted it. further showing my read on the game is superior to theirs. Big D says they didn't tell DX, Brittany, or SB, but now they want to tell Bigfoot just because they feel sorry for her. That's bad gameplay. And it gives Claire the chance to bash them in her final speech, too. It makes no logical sense unless you're a Tiffany fan. This is only being done now because Tiffany's friends were last to go. If her friends were all first to go, like it was planned, Tiffany would be the main one now saying nobody needs to know. It's based around her selfish need to control everything again. Xavier talks to Kai around 3 p.m. Xavier by now sees what Tiffany is doing with Kylan. He gets Kylan to see Azza and Tiffany have similar interests. He even lies to Kai saying Azza would throw up X and Alyssa, which shocked Kai and made him more open to keeping Azza around longer than Big D. This was masterful gameplay from X because he is protecting the woman who is protecting him back. And he's starting to play Kylan like Kai has been playing Big D. What an alliance of players we have here. Azza tells Kylan around 4:30 p.m. she won't reveal the cookout to Claire unless they have a consensus. Kai says the consensus might not even matter to Tiffany. Kai says he is waiting for Hannah to give him an update on what's going on. Kylan then talks to Azza alone in the bedroom about Final Six, but neither of them could really come up with a deal because both are after each other. Eventually they decide, all right, and when Final Six comes, we won't come after each other. But Azza's still coming at his neck. Pay attention. The thing is, though, Azza plans to win Final 7 HOH for the 6 to get out Alyssa. But she just wants there to be a under-the-table, unwritten rule that no one comes for her in Final 6 if she takes the blood of getting Alyssa out herself. That's really what she's trying to get ran through to Kylan. And this is basically what Big D tried to get popping off a week ago, right? But now that Alyssa's outlasting Claire, Big D has less interest in winning this one compared to Final 6. Therefore, now it's more incumbent on Azza to be the one to try to get this deal to pop off. I hope that makes sense to y'all. I know the connection was tweaking out while I was explaining that, but that's the best way for me to explain it. It's a role reversal. Now Azza has to step up to do what Big D was expected to do if Claire would have outlasted Alyssa. All right. Azza asks Kylan if she is delusional to think Kai is coming after her at 6, and Kai says yes. Azza wants Kai believing this was strategy done to fool Claire, even though technically that is true. It also is a small lie, too. Azza is really after Kylan. Azza says she didn't want to have regrets, so she changed her strategy to not throwing it to Big D, and instead trying to win it herself to make sure the 6 makes the 6. She just wants assurances from Kylan that if she wins Final 7 HOH to get out Alyssa, Kai keeps her in Final 6 before Big D. We know Azza throws up Kylan and Alyssa, so this is very funny to hear Azza so relieved about Kai not coming after her. As Kylan leaves the room, Big D is basically calling DX moist by saying he is catching as every other man on the cast is pitching. I don't know why, but this shit had me rolling while watching feeds today. Azza then talks to Cam alone to say she is either in a good position or a game is about to be blown up. Tiff approached her with a Final 2 this week. Kai approached her for a Final 4 deal, and she knows she has X and Big D in her pocket. She feels covered in all directions. So Xavier's work in convincing Kylan to possibly go after Big D before Azza has paid some dividends in this conversation. This could all be at Xavier's expense in Final 6, though, but it's still dope to see somebody legit having Azza's back. Well, besides Big D, of course. Azza says that conversation doesn't change much between her and Kylan, but it does make her feel better. Azza thinks multiple people want to work with her, and Big D because they aren't a powerful duo that is beatable. They also don't have resumes either to really win this game, and since their loyalty is genuine to each other, their 2 votes will hold a lot of power in Final 6. So anyone attached to them is therefore safe as long as both aren't nominated. Hence why people are butthurt that Xavier is in a great position. Because if he has 2 votes that will keep him over whoever he's next to, it don't even matter if Tiffany or Hannah are HOH. You literally have to throw up Xavier next to Big D and Azza to guarantee Xavier leaves. Because he has the votes to stay. So all it takes is for Xavier to pull himself off by winning veto and Tiffany throwing up someone else. Well, actually, I think in that situation, no matter what, whoever will it's 3 versus 3 at this point. Whoever comes off, the other person of the 3 replaces them. That's basically the gameplay that's happening here. So I shouldn't even get too deep into that because at the end of the day, it's pretty self-explanatory. Azza says if the 6 makes the 6, they will be the only duo from the same team, while other bonds may be breakable compared to theirs. Kai knows he can't penetrate what Azza and Big D have. Azza says she has to figure out how she can win this game if she takes that shot at someone in the 6 in Final 7. Azza believes Hannah and Tiffany have trust and loyalty with her. She says she isn't sure about X, but he was there for her first with the final three deal, so she trusts him regardless for having her back when no one else did. You hear that, Tiffany stands? Everything I've said, she sees. Azza then says in the sixth, she felt on the bottom throughout the game. When Big D and Brittany kept getting thrown up and she appeared weak, she built genuine relationships with people who covered her. Xavier was the main player who constantly made sure Azza felt heard. She said it isn't about her attraction to him, it's about how he treated her when everyone else treated her like the black sheep. X accepted a final three when he didn't have to with her, when Tiffany refused to. That literally is the difference. Isn't this what I've been telling people? This is proof my read on sisters isn't matched by anyone because I'm spot on with Tiffany, Hannah, and now Azza for a fact. And all three play completely different games, showing it has nothing to do with my bias towards the person. It has everything to do with me just reading their game correctly. Azza says she is all about the final three with Big D and Xavier, even if she is with two men. She came into this house wanting a women's alliance, but she wants fans to know loyalty is pushing her to this decision. She came in wanting to work with Tiffany, and Tiffany basically pushed her away. So she said, okay, you don't want me. I'm not going to prove to you why I'm worth something to you. Fuck you. And rightfully so, you know? It's about who treated Azza well when she had nobody. Azza believes she can beat X in Final 3 to win the game over Big D. The Mazza has arrived. You see this confidence she has in herself now? Tiffany didn't want to have this type of confidence in herself. Tiffany would spew, oh, we're women. We could win stuff, guys. Soon as Tiffany ruins her game, Kylan, finger me. I need protection. Claire would later on get frustrated about Azza not voting to keep her, saying she wanted to shake her and tell her she was playing Big Brother. But isn't this the same woman acting on TV like she understands why Tiffany threw her up? If she really was sincere with all that virtue signaling, she would accept Azza's gameplay just like she accepted Tiffany's. Don't blame Azza for Tiffany's blunder, Tiffany's betrayal. And don't say Azza isn't playing hard enough when your bitch ass had a whole twist and did nothing with it. As for the power rankings, ladies and gentlemen, number 5 is Hannah the Huntress. Number 4 is Big D. Number 3 is Azza the Mazza. Number 2 is Kylan. And number 1 is Excalibur. Now I'm ready to answer y'all questions. Hey, listen, my connection was in and out, in and out. I still finish. Hey, listen, man, I ain't gonna cheat myself, man. And I'm not gonna cheat y'all. We restarted that router and we made it through. We Azza is a ride or die, bruh. I'm telling you, bruh, that's the type of woman dude's wife. I'm telling you. And see, other women will hate on Azza and go, oh, you just let that man do whatever he wanted until he eventually saw you for who you were. Well, at the end of the day, sometimes that's what it takes. You know? It's tough. But like I said in my last rant, a man with options is not going to be the man who immediately just does whatever the first woman who is attractive wants. He's going to weigh out his options a bit. You feel the dig me? He's going to haggle. He's going to negotiate some things. And he's going to see if what he wants is based off lust or if he really wants it. So he's going to go out there and he's going to try stuff out and he's going to see what he really likes the most. And that's the truth of it all. That's why I don't put no pressure on this, but I honestly do see potential for them to hook up in the future. I honestly, legitimately feel that way because she is going hard for this man. Hard for this man. And I'm sure Xavier will want to take her out on several dates just to prove Zingbot was full of shit. Knowing X, he gonna stunt with Azza just to prove, oh no, y'all got the game fucked up. And knowing X, he'll also know that's an easy way for him to rebrand his image. I mean, listen, man, hey, help me, I help you. But I'm telling y'all right now, if Alyssa leaves in Final 7 and X and Azza, if one of them win HOH and then they become a showmance, all these people hating on Azza, they gonna love her. Cause then it's gonna be real black love. And I'm telling y'all, that Swaley shit was powerful. I'm not saying Xavier and Azza are on that level, pound for pound. But what I'm saying is, if they were to get out every non-black person, then start a black showmance in Final 6, then one of them win? Do you not know how legendary some shit like that would be? Listen, I'm just saying, I could see it. Claire didn't play Veto? I thought Claire played in this Veto this week. She didn't play in Veto. Oh, you right. It was Big D played. You right. Claire didn't play this week. Because her and Kylan was watching like it was the Super Bowl in the edit. You're right. She didn't play. That is a correction. Thank you for correcting me on that. Because I should have corrected myself on that because we saw it today. But with the internet tweaking in and out, my mind, I'm so far removed from that episode. Y'all gotta understand, I watched that episode like 4 hours ago. You feel it, Damien? I really waited this long to make sure my West Coast peeps, my West Coast fam, could be here and have the same information on them that y'all have. I kind of feel like it's not fair to certain people on the West Coast that we be going in before they even watch that. Now, to be fair, they watching feeds, but it's always better to go into a rant with that episode kind of in your near in your near memory, right? Because when you can think of things, and then when I bring up certain references, it feel a lot fresher. So that's why I wanted to be very accommodating tonight for y'all. I hope y'all appreciate it. 1-800 blame X. I swear, bro. That's hey, listen, Gabby. That's becoming a new hotline, Coach. You see, Andy. He calling that hotline every day, boy. He think it's the Craigslist classifieds with his hoe ass. Bang, huh? Yeah, man, I'm going in tonight. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. And I'm hearing rumors that Tiffany may or may not have revealed the cookout to Claire. Is that true, ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section? Because I was watching feeds, I caught up, but I never caught her actually revealing it to them. Now, this could have been someone on Patreon trying to gaslight me into saying some hot shit. Salute to you, because sometimes I can be reactionary. I ain't knocking the hustle. But with that said, though, Coach, it's clear as day Tiffany wants to reveal it. Because Tiffany knows the excuse she's given don't make no damn sense. I made a 1 week deal with all these black folks that I wouldn't make all game, but we didn't target each other all game. But I made a 1 week deal with all these black folks. You know, the same black folks that were pissed that I even won this HOH, somehow all of them wanted to make a deal with me despite being angry with me. Claire believed this bullshit that Hannah fed to me. And Claire's like, I'll believe anything you say, Tiff, because I don't want to appear to be racist by being mad at you for doing me grimy. I can't afford to, in this post-BLM terrain, to be angry at you for doing a dumb move that makes any sense. So instead, I'm going to act like it makes perfect sense, but then bash Ozza for the shit you just did to me, Tiff. It's almost like Claire has commandeered the Tiff fan base talking points within the house. How you going to blame anyone but your friend who did you grimy? This ain't on Ozza. This ain't on X. But it is on the 6. You really dig me? I'm just saying, man. Right, Paige, loyalty means nothing to real ones. That's facts. That's why the older you get, this is for the younger crowd that might be patrons. The older you get, the more you're going to realize that circle is shrinking smaller and smaller. Because the older you get, the more you realize the majority of people you kick it with, you either using them for a resource or they using you for one. If you're not using them for one, you probably being used and you don't know it. You feel me? And at a certain point, you got to realize, am I making money being around these dudes, these girls? Or am I losing money? Man, I'm playing myself being around these people with no ambition. And eventually, you just want to be on your own stilo. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like you said, Paige, loyalty means nothing, man. And if you're someone of means that has something to lose, people with nothing to lose can relate to you. So they put your shit at risk all the time because they ain't got shit to risk themselves. Gabby, I'm hoping for an Ozza next Final 2 too. And honestly, I think X would reward Ozza and take her to Final 2. I think he would. I think he would. Now, here's the thing. There's an argument to be had here where X could cut Ozza in Final 2, believing there's too many women in jury. I just think I don't think X would be scared to be in jury next to Ozza because of the women thing, just because their resumes are his vastly outweighs her. I don't think he'll care that much about that. And I think he'll want to reward her with that money more than Big D because Ozza, in many ways, had his back a lot more than. Now, Big D had his back too, but Big D had his back because he had no choice. Ozza had a choice. Well, you could argue Ozza didn't have a choice either. You can make that argument. Yeah, I guess it's a similar argument for them both. Let me not be fake. Let me not be selective with my analysis here. In theory, you can make the same excuse for both Big D and Ozza. Um, but I just think Ozza being the one black woman who sees X's contribution and doesn't take it. Now, Hannah doesn't take it for granted either. She used veto on him too, but Hannah's still more loyal to Tiffany than X. So at the end of the day, I see Ozzy as someone who acknowledges X's sacrifices. And even though she might not have as much game reasoning to trust him as much as she would like to, she still remembers how he was towards her. I always tell people this game is about how humble you are in your highest moments and how you treat people in their lowest moments. Those two things will define the median, and they will usually determine if you're a player who can win. Tiffany, in her highest moments, gloating, showboating. In her lowest moments, no accountability, and she tries to blame others for her actions. Because of that, she has no real median that's respectable. And that's her problem. She has no consistency. When you don't have consistency, people don't trust you to be anything but inconsistent when the time comes for you to have to show your cards because you already did. Xavier constantly not showing his cards in a negative way and showing them always in a pro black, keep black people together way is why Ozzy will never leave his side now. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of why Black Widow was hard body on Captain America's side during Civil War. She would never flip to Iron Man's side. And a lot of people thought because she wanted to smash Captain America, when in reality she was getting that Hulk smash. But my point is, she was loyal to Captain America because at the end of the day, Cap was there for her before a lot of these other motherfuckers. She not finna flip on him for y'all when she barely know 3 things about y'all. That's Ozzy and Tiffany. She don't know much about this woman. And while she came into this house and would have loved to work with her because she thought that's what it was going to be, Tiffany didn't want that to be what it was. Tiffany cast her aside, treated her like a reject, and now Ozzy is finna return back, and she finna pull a Mohamed Salah at Liverpool, and she finna show Chelsea why they shouldn't have let her go. Let's keep it a bean. Let's keep it a bean. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been my 33rd rant of Big Brother 23 entitled Fortune Favors the Code. This will, of course, stay a Patreon exclusive. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves tonight. I wanted to give you all my top tier analysis, but also throw some curveballs in there. Shout outs to the patrons who put me on game with Andy Herron's punk ass, because we definitely sent him to the Shadow Realm. Amon Adwin, he's been asking for the smoke, and now it seems like he can't even take it, so he's trying to leave the kitchen with his bitch ass. So at the end of the day, as you all can tell, these people cannot break down the game as good as me. They don't have as much tough skin as me when it comes to criticism. So at the end of the day, I don't see what any of these people can do as good as me anymore. If they don't have tougher skin as me, and they're not being as honest as me, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even see what purpose they serve. But ladies and gentlemen, I guess every fan needs some creator to pander to them. What can I say? But ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please do not forget to like this video, comment underneath it, of course, on Patreon, and share the Patreon, because we want to get more people out here. So try to share the patreon.com/recency bias radio link with as many people as you can to get them to spend that $5 to jump on code with us. Don't share, you know what I'm saying, the link to the YouTube, but of course, share with the try to get more patrons out here with us, because at the end of the day, as we start to build this sub community, it's so refreshing. The fact that I could post that same joke to Patreon and y'all immediately got the angle of it, but then I post it to the public and they're crying as if someone just got shot, it just shows you in a nutshell why Patreon was needed for this community to truly grow. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and I'm going to see y'all tomorrow night for the epic Double Eviction, baby. It's going to be must-see TV, and I can't wait. There's so many different lanes the game could go in, but no matter how I may feel, I want the 6 to make history. No one comes before the 6, not even you, Alyssa. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all being here, and I'm going to see